Hey, how's it going? I'm Jack, the vocalist of Denied Rapture, and today I'm bringing you something a little bit special. Today I'm going through our song, the Sapient Scourge, and I'm going to be breaking down the lyrics line by line, verse by verse, and giving you the sort of in-depth walkthrough of my words in the song and what they mean on a deeper level and what the double meanings are, because for most of our songs there's a clear message of there's pollution or there's depression and we need to work through it and get through it and fix it, or explain, what we're doing to the earth and sort of scare people into changing their behavior and starting to fix the damage that we've done, the irreversible damage that we've done. But in a lot of my lyrics, there's more, depth to a lot of the words and a lot of the lines and a lot of the verses. So I want to kind of break it down. We'll probably be doing this for a majority of our songs, maybe not all of them, but if you like this video and want to see more like it, there will be a poll either at the end of the video if I remember, or you can drop in the comments down below what song you want me to do next, and I will get it done as soon as possible. So yeah, let's just get into it. So we're going to start, as all things do, as all songs do, with the opening verse, the first verse. And it goes a little bit something like this. So this song opens with the line, "Cesspool of wretched bliss, it's all around me." And what that really means is it's a play on the old proverb that we've all heard, the saying we've all heard, ignorance is bliss. And it plays off, I'm surrounded by people turning a blind eye to what we're doing and living and choosing to live in ignorance of the actions we're taking and the detrimental effect they have on the planet and the people around us. Immediately following that line is the line, "Enslaved by biology amiss, it's overwhelming." So the first meaning of that line is that we as a species, as a race, as a humanity are at the will of nature and evolution, and that we don't really have any control over it, but we like to live our lives and go about our day and talk about nature and evolution like we have a role to play in it, when we don't really have any control over what happens to us or what happens in the world outside of what we do and our actions. The second meaning of that line is really that as a society, we are entranced and fixated by other issues that, while they are important, won't matter if we're all gone, such as gender, race, crime, drugs, all this other stuff, is that if we don't put in the effort to make sure that there's still a place for us to be, a earth for us to live on, that none of those issues matter. They're important, but my personal belief is that while they are important and they're important to be helping people and helping these people be recognized and be treated equally, none of that matters if we're all dead anyway. The third line of the song is "Devourment of Lives," and that is another line that has a double meaning. The first of which is that we allow others elsewhere to suffer immeasurably, so that people like me and people like us, if you're watching this video in the States, in the UK, in Europe, anywhere like that we live in first world countries, and elsewhere in the world we allow people to suffer indescribably and unfathomably to us so that we can live in the blissful peace relative to their lives that we live in, and that we live a fairly lush, luxurious life compared to the standards that we put them through in order so that we can live this life. The second meaning of that line is fairly obvious, I believe. I think that's like the most obvious interpretation of the line, is that the rich and powerful, the 1%, feed on the poor and the impoverished and sort of, shepherd them into creating their power and making them more powerful and more rich and fueling their greed. The fourth line of the song is "Death in my eyes," and I feel like that has a very obvious interpretation to it. And it's just that we live in a world and we live in a society that likes to fixate and romanticize the idea of death. We have media coverage of all these people dying, but we never get any good news from anyone. And it's kind of depressing. And, they're putting death in our eyes, literally. Now we can move on to the second verse. And the second verse isn't really a verse. It's more of it bridges the gap between what I could really consider the first and second verse. It's like a tail of the first verse. And it's just this little chug. You can hear it here. And what I say there is fairly simple. Cascading through the gloom, the whole world is doomed. And that line specifically talks about how the end of the world and climate change and all this other stuff is more widely and widely talked about every day. And it's starting to become more of a controversial discussion because a lot of people don't want to believe it, even though it is scientifically provably true. And the fact that it is being talked about more and is coming into more people's focus and into their view frame, it's also causing a lot of people to go, oh shit, we're going to die off. And it's causing depression along a lot of people, myself included at times. And it's kind of, that news of the whole world is doomed is cascading through the depressive gloom that kind of just hangs because of that impending doom. And now what I consider the true second verse is this. And I open this verse with the line, entombed in pollution, which again I believe is a fairly straightforward line, and it means that our land and our air and our water is so heavily polluted that we're essentially burying ourselves and entombing ourselves and building a coffin for ourselves and our planet out of just garbage and toxins and trash, and we're encasing ourselves in it and it's killing us. I follow that line up with, decapitation of the mindless cattle must be the only solution. And this line is a very obvious nod to the band that is our biggest inspiration, and probably our most obvious inspiration for most of our music and our message is cattle decapitation. Following that line is another line with the double meaning, and the line is, your helpless lives rot, exactly what we thought. The first meaning of that is that we're all dying and there's nothing we can really do about it, and we cannot be helped by anyone but ourselves at this point, and that if we're going to be saving the planet and fixing what we've done, we have to do it ourselves. We can't wait for other people to do it. We have to do it now, and we need to do it with our own two hands. The second meaning of it is that people are wasting their lives getting stuck in this, very standard eat, sleep, work, sleep, repeat pattern their whole lives. And they're wasting their lives and they're not really living, and they're just kind of letting themselves waste away. Following that line is the first line in our music that we've released that really encapsulates an undertone that I like to have in all our songs that's really anti-religious. I don't know, it's just kind of a thing that I was raised in the church, and I've left the church, and I have since come to form a very strong negative opinion against them for various reasons. And I kind of there's a lot of undertones in our music of mental health and also anti-religion, and this is really the first line that is that anti-religious theme. And the line is, as the grasp of nothing drags you into the abyss to rot with every unborn fetus. And that line is again a very nihilistic, very atheistic look, and also a semi-attack on religion, for how it's twisted people's minds into living their lives in fear of death and trying to live their life to ensure that they go to heaven rather than hell. And they're so fixated on appeasing their deity and going to the next part of their existence while they could be here actually living, and they're wasting their lives away. So more simply put, all these people, all these religious people have lived their lives preparing to die and preparing to get a good outcome out of death when they have no idea if that's there. So I'm putting the idea that, oh, there's nothing. So now you and all your death-fearing religious compatriots are now rotting in just eternal darkness forever, unable to regret your decision to prepare to die. After the second verse repeats that little bridge section, here it is. And then following the second verse, it repeats the first verse again, and then is the bridge section again. And then following that count-in comes what I consider the third or bridge verse, the actual bridge verse. And it goes like this. So I open this verse with the line, sleep with your sins upon the mound of wasted life. And this is once again talking about how we go about our day in these first world countries, second world countries, these higher end, free countries, and allow people elsewhere to suffer immeasurably so that we can live in luxury as we do. We don't really care or do anything about it. And following that line, I say, all the children that could have been, but aborted, lives lost to your selfishness, lives lost to your recklessness. And this, is talking about how we have all these lives that could have lived and all these people that could have been around to see the earth as the beautiful earth that we live on as we see it. But because of our greed and selfishness and fixation on ourselves and our refusal to take up the responsibility that we have and the obligation that we have to take care of our home and take care of our planet so that other generations can come and see it and live here and enjoy it. But we've destroyed those opportunities, and all those people that could have been and all those people that could have lived don't get to because of our selfishness and because of our refusal to do anything about what we've done. And following that verse is the next kind of chorus verse, similar to the second verse, and it goes like this. And I open that verse up with the line, "Life itself is suffocating, breath itself is deprecating to the very rock we call home," which is again very straightforward. Our existence, the existence of humankind, is killing the planet. After that, I say, "The fog of death drones," which calls back to "Cascading through the gloom, the whole world is doomed." That earlier lyric in the bridge gap section, that, extinction is ever looming over our head and there's nothing we can do about it. The line that I follow that up with is the next line that has that anti-religious undertone. And the line is, "Life everlasting lost, this is what existence cost." And that line means that those same religious people that fear death so much that they don't actually get the chance to live are the same people who often defend those in favor of not helping the planet and who believe that climate change is a hoax. And they're too scared and too narcissistic to accept that we are killing our planet, even though that their supposed God supposedly created everything and created the planets and created us and created the world, will revoke their eternal life because of their failure to take care of what he gave them. And it's kind of a mockery and a pointing the finger at them and going, "Ha ha, you believe this thing, but won't even act on your belief." Following that is another really straightforward line, "Egregious defilement of the entire fucking world. Our lives, our existence has killed the earth," essentially. And immediately following that verse, the third kind of bridge verse repeats and goes into the lead section that leads into the breakdown, and it sounds a little bit something like this. And again, the lyrics for the breakdown are also very straightforward. They are, "We are swine, we live to die, and our actions only speed up the process. We are greedy, we are terrible pigs, we are livestock, humanity is terrible, and our actions are what has caused this downfall of life." And then following the breakdown comes the second verse again, and then it goes immediately into this slam. And over the slam are the lyrics, "The sapient scourge, the aggressive cancer, the sapient scourge, all men must die." And that is another verse with a double meaning. The first of the meanings is fairly obvious. Humanity is a plague, humanity is a cancer, we are a disease, and the only cure for that disease is for us to die. And the second meaning of "all men must die" is it pays homage to one of my favorite shows and my guitarist's favorite show, Game of Thrones, and the phrase "Valar Morghulis," I believe it is, which means the same thing, all men must die. And then the ending breakdown has the same thing over it, "The sapient scourge, all men must die. The sapient scourge, all men must die." And that's it. Looks like we got through that song. I love that song to bits. We love playing it live. It's the song we put out first. We've been practicing it almost nonstop for a year. It's so much fun to play. It's like a warm hug when we get to play it live. It's so much fun to do. Once again, that was the lyric breakdown for our song, "The Sapient Scourge." You can check out the original single here, if it's not on screen, link in the description as well for all you mobile users, or if I'm too lazy to put it on screen, Once again, there's going to be a poll either up here, or just leave a comment down below of what song you want to hear next. We also have shirts if you want to get them. Link to our Bandcamp will be either on screen or in the description. We have these t-shirts with a gas mask dude on them, All Men Must Die t-shirts. They're $15. And we also have long sleeves for our song Perspective with our logo down one side, perspective down one side, and then lyrics along the side of the design. It's been a hit. People love that shirt. So definitely go check those two out if you want to support us, give us some love. It would mean the world to us. Thank you guys for sticking around. If you enjoyed it, remember, let me know what song you want to hear next. Hit that like button and be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.
Yeah.